Kilmar Abrego Garcia, an undocumented man who has lived in the United States for 14 years, could be deported to Uganda in a matter of days. Garcia's never set foot in Uganda. He has no family there. He has no friends there. His wife and his 3 children live in Maryland. On Friday, after 5 months apart, he was reunited with them. Now, that time apart, you will recall, because we covered it a great deal, included a wrongful deportation to a notorious maximum security prison in El Salvador, followed by weeks in a Tennessee jail. Now the Trump administration says the only way Garcia can avoid being sent to Uganda is by pleading guilty to human smuggling charges which he denies. Now, if he pleads guilty, he'll still be deported, but this time to Costa Rica, a safe tropical Spanish-speaking country where they say he'll be treated as a refugee. If he doesn't plead guilty, he's going to Uganda. Abrego Garcia's lawyers say that this is an attempt by the Trump administration to coerce him into pleading guilty. His case has become a flashpoint in President Trump's immigration crackdown, which has included the targeting and arrest of thousands of migrants, often without due process. Increasingly, these arrests are happening in courthouses, once considered safe spaces where asylum seekers and refugees and other migrants could make their case before a judge and hope for legal status. Masked ICE agents are now patrolling courthouses across the country and detaining people who show up for their legally mandated hearings. And nearly half of these courthouses, or these arrests at the courthouses, have taken place in New York City, according to data analyzed by the local paper, The City. In response, New York City Comptroller and former mayoral candidate Brad Lander has been escorting people to and from their immigration hearings, using his own presence as a form of accountability and bearing witness. He was arrested by federal agents back in June for trying to escort a man out of a routine immigration hearing. Agents reportedly bristle at having to deal with Brad Lander. Brad Lander's response is, quote, "Here's my good faith offer. If they stop abducting people, I'll never come again." Brad Lander joins me now. He's been the New York City's comptroller since 2022. He ran for New York City mayor in the Democratic primary this year. He continues to be very involved in that election. I'm also joined by our good friend Dean Obeidallah, the host of SiriusXM's The Dean Obeidallah Show. Dean is an attorney, in addition to a lot of other hats he wears, and he's an MSNBC daily columnist. Welcome to both of you guys. Thanks for being with us. Comptroller Lander, look, I just want to remind people of your story, because at one point you got detained and your critics or people who didn't know said it was some kind of a campaign stunt. What people didn't know is you've actually been doing this for a long time. You use your authority to bear witness, to go to court, to stand with people who are being who they're trying to deport.
That's right. Organizations I work closely with, Make the Road New York, ACLU, and others, Immigration ARC, they've been standing up for and accompanying immigrants. So when they told me what was going on in these courtrooms, I thought it was important to show up. I had been a couple of times before I was detained. I've been about a dozen times since. And unfortunately, it's still going on. People show up for their hearings. They're abiding by the law, and it's our government that's breaking it.
Dean, Brad and I spoke after that, and one of the things that it occurred to me, because my viewers and your listeners are always looking for what they can do, right? Not everybody can be part of a lawsuit or do things. Mm-hmm. And Brad mentioned that is one of these things you can do. There's a lot of runway left for people who think that things are going very wrong with our government.
Certainly. And first of all, I applaud the courage and inspiration of Brad Lander, and I had him on my show, and I'm a big fan of Brad. I ranked you second, Brad, not to get into it, but it's only because you crossed into us or on Mondani. But so here's the thing. Look, people can go on the streets. They can protest. But what's going on here, Ali, is you've got people complying with the law and then being punished for complying with the law. If they don't show up, they'll have an order of deportation. If they do show up, ICE is going to take them away. And look at the images you showed, Ali, of armed men with masks in the building walking around. That does not look like the United States of America that we know. So the way to do it is grassroots activism, getting involved in protests. No Kings protests coming up in September, numerous protests. Don't give up, because if you're silent, that's how the authoritarian wins. We know that from history. Don't obey, can keep fighting, use our voice to push back against their efforts to usher in a fascist regime.
Brad, there are, I want to keep going down this road of what people can do. There are town hall meetings across this country. There are No Kings protests. Indivisible does these things. There's the ability to go to court. There's a state election in Virginia. There's also municipal elections across this country, including one that you are involved in right here in New York. The leading candidate, a Democrat, has not been endorsed by a lot of key Democrats in New York State or in the Democratic Party. That people are scared of touching certain third rails, even in response to voter energy and frustration with what's going on.
That's right. And look, in New York City, we have the opportunity this fall to elect Zohran Mamdani, the mayor of the city of New York. He could be the first immigrant New Yorker elected mayor in generations, with a really inspiring message about affordability and the cost of living, and making sure that New York City stays a place where everyone is welcome and we stand up for people's rights. You've got other candidates running like that all around the country. This is a moment that calls for that. I would encourage people to check out your immigration courts, even if you're not in New York City, a place. And so you might not have ICE agents out in the hallways. But some of the days I've been there when people haven't been detained, like I just got to go with a young man named Yasser, 21-year-old from Sudan, kidnapped and tortured by the RSF, made his way here. He's becoming an American. He's talking to me about hot dogs and going to high school. And he just got special immigrant juvenile status and is on his way to becoming like the next generation of New Yorker. And that's what I find inspiring about where we are in New York City, about the kind of activism that people are engaging in. Some of the lawsuits are starting to have effect. We just saw that a judge ruled that concentration camp, and I don't say that lightly, as a Jewish American, that Trump is trying to set up in Florida has to, can't move forward. And they made some positive decisions about the New York City detention as well, and hopefully will rule that they can't keep doing these courthouse arrests. We've got to build on that momentum, keep filing the lawsuits, keep getting out in the street, keep bearing witness, keep putting our bodies on the line, keep finding candidates who will propel democracy forward and inspire people both with that vision of that statue in the harbor of inclusive multiracial democracy, but also how do we address the real challenges, the cost of housing, the cost of childcare, that people are so frustrated by. And I know we can do both, and you feel good when you do it, standing up for other people's rights, but also building a country that works for your own kids too.
Dean, that point about fine candidates around the country who are doing this, I feel people who sort of see the top line of news are very frustrated. People who might be Democrats, doesn't matter. They're frustrated with their elected politicians, in many cases with Democratic leadership in this country. But you talk to, and I talk to, lots of people like Brad Lander and others who are prepared to do more and are doing more. I try and convince people, do not lose hope. There are actually candidates. There are people. We're just going to have to push those people forward. We may have to push them through the Democratic Party or get them around the Democratic Party, because the Democratic Party seems to be falling behind its own base in many cases.
It's a great point. When I talk to listeners from my show, at one point they were clamoring for Democrat leaders to do more. Then they got to a point they're like, they're not going to do more. It's up to us to step forward. And the point I make, Ali, all the time is we, the Democratic base, we don't have an identity crisis. We don't have a branding problem. We know what we're about. We have a leadership crisis. And there are some really good Democratic leaders. Brad Lander is one of them. Zohran, there's probably 25 Democrats in the House and the Senate fighting a good fight every day. Problem is, there's about 260 Democrats in the House and the Senate. We see the same 25, just as Jamie Raskin on your show. We need all of them to step up with the same urgency that our freedom, our self-determination as a people, for us, our children and grandchildren are on the line. If you're not going to fight like that, then it's time for you to step aside. You're just the wrong candidate for the wrong time. We need fighters now. That's what the base says. Ali, it's not liberal versus more moderate Democrats. It's
correct.
Fighters. Either fight or step aside.
Yes, it's becoming an exhausting discussion, Brad, about whether it should be more progressive or more moderate. That's not what people are responding to. The millions of people who went out for No Kings, the people who show up at these town hall meetings, the people who show up when AOC and Bernie Sanders, the 30,000 people who showed up in Denver, the young people who voted for you and Zohran Mamdani. They don't get up every morning and think about whether they're more progressive or more moderate. They think about the rent is too damn high. They think about they don't want to see their neighbors disappeared. They're thinking about actual things that need to be done, not where they sit on the ideological spectrum.
I'm going to say one real positive thing about this. So I've been using this line that, that Dean said, that the line right now is not between progressives and moderates. It's between fighters and folders. People want someone who will stand up and fight for their future.
Yes.
Now, I'll admit I borrowed that line from a dear friend of mine, Greg Casar, who's a 33-year-old member of Congress, chair of the Congressional Progressive Caucus. Republicans in Texas, as if everybody knows, have redistricted to cut down on Democratic seats. And he was pushed into a district with a 70-something, longtime liberal Dem, a good longtime leader, Lloyd Doggett. It looked for a minute like Doggett was going to sort of fight Casar. And I'm very pleased to say that he has said, you know what, I've had a great career. I'm going to retire. The future looks like Greg Casar. We need fighters like that. So here's one where somebody sort of did that right thing, is handing over the torch to that next generation of fighting folks who are fighting for working families. And that's what we need more of, more leaders like that who will step up. And again, not only in Congress, but out in your communities, showing up in your indivisible chapter, you see immigrant communities, you see this in all communities. And that's what the Democratic plays, and people come together and fight for each other. And that's what we've got to get back to if we're going to save our democracy and make government work.